Okay. So let's talk about play. Okay, so the first slide that we see is a quote from Jean Piaget, which we talked about already, is play is the work of the child. So like I mentioned already a little bit, you know, everybody has heard of play, but we don't all have the same definition of play or what play should or could look like. And so my goal tonight is to give you guys an idea of what true play should look like. Play that we offer children for optimum development. Okay, make sure this is recording. Yep, okay. All right, so to start with, like I said, all science, all research talks about how important play is to our practice. It really is the foundation of our practice. But sometimes when we don't fully understand what something is, we can misuse it, right? We can twist it to mean something else, right? And what happens often, or what has happened in our field, is that what play really is has been twisted to mean something else. Oftentimes it's meant or provided as something adult-led, right? And unfortunately, we often lose our understanding of what children truly need for optimum learning and development through play. So again, all of the research, all of the theorists back this up, that optimum learning and development comes through play, okay? But what does play look like, right? What does true play look like? Well, I can tell you that it's not what we often, like I said earlier, twisting it into something adult-led. It's not like putting learning into play, right? Adding, you know, letters that doesn't make, you know, and then telling children that they have to identify the letters or match something. Then it's no longer truly play, okay? So children don't learn best, okay? And this is what the science tells us, by mixing play and learning, or sprinkling in learning to play, or adding learning to play. Play in itself is enough. Play in itself is valuable, okay? The value of play is the actual play in itself. And all play has value. All play is learning. All play is learning, okay? Whether we can identify it or not is not the important thing, right? Whether we can identify what's going on or not, learning is happening, okay? And we honor children and provide children optimum opportunities for learning when we trust that play is enough, okay? There's a book called Free to Learn, and the author, Peter Gray, says, what we value most when we are not playing are the results of our actions. The actions are merely the means to the end. When we're not playing, we typically opt for the shortest, least effortful means of achieving our goal. The not playful, goal-oriented college student, for example, right? They do the least amount of studying in order to get the A, right? So it's just about the end product, right? Her studying is focused directly on that goal, okay? So any learning not related to that goal is wasted effort. That happens when we impose or mix in or add learning to their play, that organic play, right? In play, that idea that idea is reversed. Okay, the play activity that is valuable in itself. That's where the learning is, right? That's where the value is. In play, attention is focused on the means, on the process, not the end. Okay. And players, like truly in play, if you see children playing, they're not looking for an end goal, right? They're not necessarily looking for the easiest route to achieve the end, right? If you think about children really engaged in play, it's about the planning of it and the process of it. That's where the richness of it is. Does that make sense? Okay, so the first really important part of play is one, knowing that it's not. Okay, what it is not is a teacher directed goal, pre-described goal, or a play activity that you made it into a learning opportunity. Those are something else. Those are activities, those are something else, but it's not play. It's not true play. It's not the play where optimum learning and development happens, okay? That kind of play, the play that I'm talking about, has specific characteristics, okay? The play that provides for optimum development, socially, emotionally, physically, and cognitively, for those synapses to be developed and strengthened over and over and over again. So those neurons come here, right? That happens in true play, okay? So in order for it to be true play, it means that it's self-chosen and self-directed. It means that children have freedom. It means that that it is what one wants to do as opposed to what one has to do, right? Children in play direct their own actions during play, right? So we provide the environment, the safe space, and then children have the freedom to choose how they use the materials, where they use the materials, how long they use the materials, with who they use the materials, okay? True play is first and foremost an expression of freedom. Again, it's what one wants to do as opposed to what one has to do, okay? So as soon as you, as the adult, have an agenda for their play, or you require them to do it, like everybody sit down, we're doing, that is not play, okay? That is something else. And it is not an experience where optimum development is happening, okay? If you have to make it fun to get them to comply, that's not play. If they're not free to stop, change it, move it, then it is not play. They can only build to their knees. If they can't take the breakfast that they made in dramatic play over to the block area and create a stove over there, then they are not getting optimum learning in their environment. That is not true play. Okay? It doesn't mean that children can't be invited or suggested or even asked to play, but true play, where optimum development is happening, allows freedom. okay? Freedom to play and freedom to quit. Peter Gray says, anyone who feels coerced or pressured or made to feel bad for not doing an activity or not being able to quit is not someone who's playing. It's someone who is a victim. You think about that, okay? It may sound a little dramatic, but if you really think about what we're talking about, right? Children who don't have the freedom to not do an activity, right? Or made to feel bad for not doing it, pressured to do it. If someone was pressuring me or telling me I couldn't do it or telling me I had to do it, as an adult, you would be violating my rights, would you not? Right? And we would be, honestly, we would be then working from the reptilian part of the brain, the fight or flight or freeze. And that's what happens with children. When they don't have a sense of ownership over their play, it's a choice in their play, right? Self-direction, freedom. That's when optimum development is happening, optimum learning and development, okay? The other characteristic of true play is that it is process-oriented, right? It's about the process, not the end product. Going back to what I said earlier, it's about the play in itself, not some end product. Okay, so true play is active and process oriented. It means that children play for the experience rather than an end product, right? An example of that in my school age program for a long time, for many months during COVID, when we were doing remote learning, on their breaks for a while, they were obsessed with making tents. So every blanket in the classroom, every pillow in the classroom, every towel in the classroom, right? I went to thrift stores and got more. And it would literally be half of the classroom was made into a tent. What do you think they did once they had the tent made? Tore it down and built it again. It was never about having a tent. It rarely is, right? It is about the process, the teamwork, right? The decision-making, working together, the collaboration, right? So true play means that children are honoring and knowing and seeing the value in children playing for the experience rather than an end product. Okay, it doesn't mean that we don't have goals and intentions for the materials that we provide or the environment that we provide. Everything that I provide in my environment, every materials that I put out, every corner of my school is intentional because I know what children need, right? But I don't mandate what they do with it, how they do it. I don't mandate that my intention, that their intention is my intention, that they meet goals that I've set, okay? We need to value that anything's open to possibility, that it's always about the process, not the end product, okay? Because the mind at play is its most active, most alert, and not stressed. Mandates cause stress, right? Control causes stress. Freedom in their play is the most active and alert. The mental state of play is what some researchers call flow. Have you guys ever heard that? Flow, right? It's the highest level of brain activity, that flow, okay? Where attention is focused on the play itself. And there's very little awareness of what's going on around them. Okay. And then lastly, guys, play is hella fun. Right? I mean, it's fun. Remember how we're kids? Remember how they're kids? Remember how they're kids? Remember how they're kids? Their life should be play. 3-year-olds should not be learning how to write their name. They should be play. Sorry, I'll stop clapping. My bad. They're 36 months old. They've been on the earth for 36 months. Why are we stressing things? Why are we mandating things? Especially since all the science, all the theorists tell us otherwise. Okay? This is not just my opinion. This is backed up by science. This is how their brains work. It's how their body is developing. Play is enough. Okay? And again, play is fun. It's what kids are supposed to be doing. The push down is real. That academic push down, that earlier is better push down is real. And it is damaging. Okay? Childhood should be fun, pleasurable, enjoyable, right? Not to say that there are challenges. There are challenges in play. Play can be frustrating. Play can be risky. It should be, right? But when children have freedom within adults who are working as facilitators, right? As opposed to control facilitators, we can help them navigate those challenges and then become better at the other side of it with tools, right? Real tools. So the last thing I want to say about play, so those 3 characteristics are huge, right? If what children are doing is not self-chosen, self-directed, and they don't have freedom in it, if it's about an end product, if it's about making the, footprint reindeer, if it's about matching these cards, that's not play. No, that's not play. It's something else, but it is not play. And if it's not fun and pleasurable, right? If they're not getting lost in it, that flow, it's something else. It's not play, and it's not optimum learning and development, okay? The last thing is that play should be a fundamental right of children. It should be a fundamental right of children because all of the science tells us it is how they learn and develop best. It should be a right. Do you know that in every other industrialized, advanced country, you know how we as adults have a Bill of Rights, right? We have a Bill of Rights, right? We have the right to freedom. We have the right to protect ourselves, all of those. In every other industrialized, advanced country, children have a Bill of Rights. And one of the top things is they have the right to play. We're the only country, started, but we're the only country where children do not have a Bill of Rights. Yeah. Children, play should be the fundamental right of children because it is how learning and development happens. Okay. Need to take a breath real quick. All right. Any questions or concerns before we move on? All right. What time is it? Okay, 8 o'clock. We're good. All right. So I wanted to share a few more things with you, and that is when you go out into the field, I don't know how many of you are actually working in the field now, okay? Is anybody working at a school right now? You can raise your hand in the chat or, okay, Jin Lee, Maria, anyone else? Okay, Ariadna, Ashley, oh, quite a few, Cosette, very good, okay. Awesome, okay, so maybe as I'm going through this, you'll be able to confirm or let me know if I'm on the right track. So what I'm going to be talking about is when we go out into the field, we're going to find, for the most part, 2 different types of programs, okay? Well, maybe 3, okay? We're going to find direct instruction programs or academic programs, teacher-directed programs. We're going to find play-based programs, okay? Truly play-based programs like the program that I run, okay? Or we're going to find programs that mix the 2, okay? Maybe do a little bit of both, all right? My goal in this part of the evening is to not tell you that one is better than the other or worse than the other. I'm just giving you the information of what you will find in each program, right? I've already let you know what is best for children, which is not my opinion. I mean, obviously it is, but it's not about my opinion. I gave you science, I gave you research, all right? And so the goal of this is for you to go out and know that you're going to see different types of programs. And my goal is that I've given you information so that you can know what children need and what is being provided and what's not being provided, all right? Okay, so the first type of program that we're going to talk about is, like I said, direct instruction programs or academic programs, okay? For those of you who work in a program, let me know if this sounds consistent, if any of this sounds consistent to the program that you work at, okay? And you can put it in the chat box, all right? So a direct instruction program or an academic program, typically most of the activities have specific goals, right? They have an end goal. Those goals usually are connected to standards or a checklist, okay? And so they usually match. Oftentimes, there's a pre-described or pre-made curriculum that's already made for you, and then it's all connected to benchmarks or standards, okay? And those goals are usually academic, right? Letter sounds, number recognition, you know, those kind of things, as opposed to physical, social, or creative, right? And those goals are usually determined by the teacher or a pre-described curriculum, okay? Does this sound familiar at all? Okay. Many of the activities that are provided need direct instruction from the teacher, okay? So typically what it looks like in direct instruction programs or academic-based programs is there's not a lot of freedom of choice for children, right? Not a lot of freedom of choice. That's not a priority, okay? There's not lots of long periods of play, right? Their schedule is usually broken into small segments. Does that sound familiar? So, yeah, Cosette, it does sound like an elementary school and also many preschools. So Jenny Lee, okay, so this sounds familiar to you. So what happens often, their schedule usually, it starts off with a circle time where all the children have to sit, they do a calendar, they do a song, some sort of activity, read a book. Children all have to sit there. There's not typically freedom, you know, to move around. There's typically a lot of behavior issues because you're always going to have the ones who don't want to. And also a lot of times the stuff that they're doing in circle time they're typically not age appropriate, like the idea of a calendar, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But 2-year-olds don't understand time, right? We know that, right? 2-year-olds don't understand calendars. So a lot of times it's not age appropriate, and so it's not interesting to them. And then they usually will have maybe breakfast, or they'll have a small group time where there's like 4 or 5 centers where children can choose from, and they rotate. So like every 20 minutes or so, they're at a center. And maybe within the center, there's some freedom. Like if you're in dramatic play, you can kind of do what you want, but you have to stay in dramatic play, keep it in dramatic play, right? At this table, there might be large blocks, and you can do what you want with the blocks, but you have to keep the blocks there, keep them at the table, you know, that kind of thing. And then like every 20 minutes, you rotate. Yes? And then oftentimes there's 1 or 2 where the teacher is directing it. And then you have to do whatever the teacher says. And that could be a craft, it could be a worksheet, that kind of thing. All right, does that sound familiar to anybody? Ashley, yes. Fatima, yes. Okay, yes, okay. So, you know, like I said, typically physical development, creative opportunities, social development is not a priority, okay? And the activities, like I said, are product oriented, right? They're about the end product, right? They're about being able to check off a checklist in their curriculum or their goals, or send something home, right? Like predetermined craft projects. Yeah? Let me see if any of this looks familiar. Anyone? So I just want to make sure you all understand. Okay, this is not art. These are crafts. There's a difference. If anybody's an artist, you can concur, right? These are crafts. And I really want us to take a look at it for a second, okay? So let's look down here at these taxis. Can you guys see that? Right? Do you notice, what do you notice? What do you notice? Anyone?
They all have words as taxi. The colors are the same. They all have their age.
So do you think that the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old put the wheels in the exact same place? Put the window in the exact same place?
2 wheels.
No,
I mean, how much of that work do you think was actually the kid? They had any freedom in it at all, right? Yes, Maria, not creativity.
It's a pressure.
It is a pressure, right? And what happens often, okay? And I'm here to tell you, when I started out, I did these. So I know I did this, okay? Before I knew better. Okay, now I know better, we do better. Yes? Okay. What happens is you tell the children where to put it, and if they don't, you fix it. That is what happens, because you want your bulletin board, and I know you, but I mean in general, you as in the early childhood practitioner, we want our bulletin boards to look a certain way, right? We want to be able to hand our parents something that they can put up in their office. Girl, guys, if I had $1 for every time I've had to tell a parent, I'm sorry. Okay, what they did today is all over their shirt. You can see the paint, you can see the mud. You know what I mean? Like you can see the whipped cream. You can see the markers. Like you can see it all. I'm not here to give you a receipt. Lisa Murphy, the ooey gooey lady, called it a receipt for childcare. Okay. This is not optimum learning and development. This is predetermined. Okay. So again, I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying You know, this is what you will see in an academic environment, okay? Also, another thing that you'll see a lot are dittos, worksheets, and flashcards. Does anybody know what a ditto or a worksheet is? So I won't spend a lot of time on it because in the Ages and Stages book on page 163, okay, they go over this, okay? And the pros and cons, that's not true. The cons, there aren't pros, okay? The book goes over that, right? But this is oftentimes what you will see as early as 3 years old, right? Okay. And if you look at, oops, sorry, this, okay. Right, if you look at the bottom right, okay. This was given to a 4-year-old class where they sat, oh, don't open your mouth like that, girl, Maria, it is true. The push down is real. The push down is real, okay? Right, and then they are expected to trace the letters, right? Right, and oftentimes what happens is the teacher sits at the table and then they all do it together, right? And I mean, how many of you, if you're in your class now, how many of your kids know what a hut is? How many of them have used a hoe? They might have heard the word, but not in this context. Not as a tool at a farm. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's a lot of objections to worksheets, right? And it's all based on development. Okay. It's all based on development. Okay. And how children learn and develop best. They need to use their whole body, right? They need to play. They need to manipulate things, right? They need to work things out, right? They need to touch a hat, feel a hat, see a hat, read about a hat. And then when their brain and body, that timing is perfect, that progression of development happens, and their brain and body is ready to read, hat will come to them like this. Like this. Research has shown that it takes 24 one-hour sessions to teach a child to read. If it's done in a timeline that meets that child's development. 24 one-hour sessions. Or you could do it earlier and it take a lot longer and it'd be a battle, right? Because they're not going to really be interested in it. You're going to have to force them, the flashcards, the dittos, all of that, which then affects their emotional development because they are frustrated. They know they can't do it, but their adults are telling them they should do it. I mean, right? You with me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's move on. Okay. So the last thing that is important for us to know about direct instruction or academic programs, it absolutely may provide immediate results. You absolutely can teach a 3-year-old how to write their name. You absolutely can teach a 4-year-old maybe how to read, maybe how to color in the lines, maybe how to cut straight lines, you know, identify all of their shapes. I had a 4-year-old once who I had a poster on the wall and it had a bunch of shapes. And he says, where is the parallelogram? I said, what? What? I was like, hold on. I had to Google parallelogram. I was like, oh, and I made one for him, which was cool. Like he wanted a parallelogram. He knew all of his shapes. Yo, he could not pull up his own pants. And not because he wasn't physically capable, but the priority Just saying. Right? You know what I mean? He could not work out his emotions when things didn't go his way when he came to me. Right? He did not have a high emotional intelligence. Right? He didn't have an age-appropriate emotional intelligence. So he knew shapes more than I did, but emotionally, he was damaged. Does that make sense? Right? Okay. Again, that's not everyone, right? That was an example of something that I have witnessed. Okay. So it may provide immediate results. Okay. All right. Any questions? We're going to move on. All right. Okay. So the other type of school that you might see is a play-based program. Okay. Now, again, this is a program that values true play, right? The play that we talked about a minute ago with those characteristics, right? Okay. In a play-based program, where am I? The environment and materials will definitely have goals. Okay. So like I said earlier, everything that is provided in the environment, how the environment is set up, how they offer the materials, that would absolutely have intention. And there are some activities, planned activities offered, right, that have intention. Okay. But first and foremost, the children have freedom to choose. So there's not a mandate on how to use the materials, right? In a play-based program, there's long periods of play, right? Periods of play where children have the opportunity to go deep in their play, right? Do you know that there's research that shows that it takes a 4-year-old 45 minutes just to plan their play, right? If you think about the tent, right? If they only had 20 minutes to play, the collaboration, the planning, the working it out, it would be cut. Like they would never get into that flow. You with me? Right? Where there's optimum brain activity. Okay. So in a play-based program, there's long periods of play. So my schedule at my school looks like this, my daily schedule. We open at 6:30. We have breakfast available from 7 o'clock to 8:30. We have lunch at 11. Children who nap lay down, children that don't go outside. And then we close at 6. Everything in around that, children get to choose. So they are, depending on what time they get there, they are playing from the moment they get there to the moment they leave. In an incredibly rich environment, which I'll show you pictures of in a few minutes, okay? So in a play-based program, teachers act as facilitators, available, right? Play advocates, facilitating play, facilitating conflict, right? Seeing what they need. One of the questions we ask often is, what do you need? What do you need? Right? So even if they start arguing, hey guys, what do you need? Right? Right? They know that we're available. And many times, you know, Miss Jamie, I need a magnifying glass. All right, I'll be right back. You know what I mean? That kind of like, we're there to facilitate so that their play goes deep. Okay. We provide a rich environment, again, as well as some planned activities. We do oftentimes do group activities again, or story times, but they are organic. In a truly play-based program, no child would have to sit and listen to a story. Because then that's no longer a truly play-based program. It's something else, right? I mean, we read all day. In a play-based program, you should be reading all day, right? And knowing that even if a child is in the block center, if they can hear, they're listening. Especially if you're good at reading. You know what I'm saying? Okay. In a play-based program, the child's experience is more important than the results. It's always about the process, never about the end product. Okay. We're not sending, play-based programs are not sending home receipts for childcare. Experiences and environments are flexible. We allow the children to participate at their individual developmental level. Okay. You remember when you guys read about Vygotsky? One of the things that Vygotsky really valued was mixed age groups, right? That children learn from each other, the younger from the older from the younger. That's really, a play-based environment is really allows for that, because children have the freedom to use the materials however they want, right? Or however they need. All age groups' needs are met, right? And we facilitate and we add on things and move things and change things because we know the kids and we know how we can scaffold, right? So in the academic center, I talked about immediate results. In a play-based program, long-term results are proven, okay? And so a play-based program may not produce a 4-year-old who writes perfect sentences or a 5-year-old who writes sentences, okay? But what it has proven to give is opportunities for self-regulation, okay? Self-regulation and impulse control, okay? And that skill, self-regulation and impulse control, that allows them to sit in classrooms later on and receive information, right? And process information. Does that make sense? Right? It allows them the ability to be out on the playground and deal with conflict. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? It gives them the ability to respond appropriately to their environment. Okay? Children must learn to evaluate what they see, hear, touch, taste, and smell, compare it to what they've already known, and then communicate their responses, right? So for example, having to translate cues like a teacher saying, you need to wait your turn, and then getting their turn, right, over and over and over again in a play-based program, where in a play-based program, you wouldn't force kids to share. Children have to wait their turn, okay? And so being able to consistently translate cues like a teacher saying, you need to wait their turn, and then them getting their turn helps them regulate that emotional response of not getting what they want instantly, right? That instant gratification that children become used to, right? Or being able to try lots of different things in their freedom to play, right? That freedom to play in different ways encourages perseverance, or the willingness to keep trying instead of, I can't do this, okay? So that higher level of thinking, that executive function brain skill that develops with practice, that self-regulation and impulse control, y'all, you can't teach it. You can't teach it. It happens through play. And we are seeing the results of it not happening in early childhood in our school systems, okay? Another long-term results is a love of learning, right? A love of learning, curiosity, right? Wanting to know more about things, a love of school, right? Another one is divergent thinking, okay? Divergent thinking is a long-term result of play-based learning, of being able to play in their early childhood, okay? Divergent thinking is like thinking outside of the box. Being able to consider lots of different solutions for a problem, right? Like creative thinking. That is developed in play, right? Where you're out on the playground and you have a bunch of milk crates, right? You know, milk crates, you know, and you get to use them any way you want. So a milk crate can be a train. It can be a house for your doll. It can be a jail. It can be a home for an animal. It can be where you collect things and then move them somewhere else, right? Divergent thinking, thinking outside the box. That is an incredibly valuable skill that lasts a lifetime, right? Seeing the value of something for more than what you just see it, right? It's a milk crate, whatever. Oh, no, no, no. It's this and this and this. The value is endless, right? And I personally, there's no data behind this, but I personally think that that translates into human beings who see other human beings and see the value outside of what they just see. You know, I think it just naturally translates into someone who is more welcoming and more inviting, right? Who can do conflict resolution better, you know, who sees the value of a human being just because they're a human being and everyone has value. So again, there's no data behind that, but that's what I personally think. All right. So those long-term results are proven. And those things, if you were to look, if you were to ask, and there's actually, this has happened where Fortune 500 companies like Google, you know, AT&T, Time, like all those Google, big Fortune 500 companies have asked, like, what are the top things that you look for when you're hiring someone? Do you think it's writing their name properly when they were 5?
No.
No. Do you think it's sitting still during circle time?
No.
No. They want someone who has divergent thinking skills, right? Who can see a problem and consider lots of solutions, right? Who can think outside of the box, right? Who has good impulse control, right? You know, who has good conflict resolution, like those human characteristics, right? Those are things that play provides for. And the research shows that. All the science, all of the theories, I promise you, if you Google, you know, what is best in early childhood, academics early or play, you're not going to find research, scientific research, that tells you that play is not the best. All right. All right. How much time we got? Okay, we're almost done, guys. Thanks for holding in. All right. So I wanted to show you some examples of what play could really look like. Okay. True play looks like. Okay. True play uses your whole body, right? Right. If you look at Piaget's stages, right? Sensory motor, the senses in the body, right? Okay. So infant play should be about that, using their whole body. Okay. Okay. When you do small groups like this up here, they're organic, right? She sat down with some materials and the children came to her. Okay. Children should be able to move, move their bodies, get dirty, right? Build their immune system. Do you see this picture up here, top left? That is a 10-month-old. Does that make anyone nervous? It's okay. It should make you a little nervous, right? But there was a teacher right there,
But it's dangerous
Is it? What's dangerous about it?
if it fall down.
Oh,
Mhm.
they're
The teacher's
exploring.
right there.
But still,
that?
They are exploring the areas.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that child is incredibly capable.
yeah.
If that child got up there on themselves, it's because they're capable. It's one of the things that we don't remember oftentimes, how capable children are, right? And this child has been in a play environment, a play-based environment since 6 weeks. This kid, you should see him now. You should see him now. He's in first grade now. Okay. He's in first grade now. Okay. He is capable, right? Does he look scared? No, because he knows exactly what he's doing. Of course, it is our job to keep them safe. A teacher was right there, right? Okay, as soon as he stood up, a teacher was right there, right? Offered to hold his hand. Of course, it is our job to keep them safe, but we don't allow for optimum development if we don't give them the freedom to take healthy risks, to move their body, right? Okay, so I could go through each picture, but we don't have time for that. Okay. All right, let me move on. So let's look at play that develops fine motor skills. All of these are providing materials. Okay, remember, okay, however you see children using the materials, it was their choice how to use it. We don't mandate how children use materials. Okay, we're intentional. Like, I know what children probably are going to do with it. A lot of times they surprise me and it's wonderful, and they use it in ways way better than I could think of because they know what they need, right? Okay, and again, this is a mixed age group. So there's 2, 3, 4s, and 5-year-olds all together all day. Okay. Okay, so all of these experiences using these materials are all one of the goals is strengthening these muscles, right? They're all strengthening these fine motor skills, the daubers, the small items, putting the what are those things called? The pipe cleaners in holes and then lacing them, stringing the beads over here on that let me get over there, over here on this tree branch, right? And can you, what do you notice about their faces?
Focusing, they are focusing.
Focus,
They look amazed.
focus. Yes, they're in the flow, you guys. They're so focused and thinking about how, why, what would happen if, you know?
Creative.
Incredibly creative. Yes, look at this, you know, these are applesauce containers, right? We use what's called loose parts. Okay, up here in the top right, this is spaghetti noodles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there's scissors and tongs, right? And things for them to put it in, things, you know, plastic knives, things like that. This one right here, can you guys see this little thing right here? I think, mocajete? Yeah. Yeah? Woo.
Yeah.
or a mortar pestle, right? So they get to strengthen these muscles. Yes, the wrist. Okay, but there's also baskets of herbs in there and water with essential oils. So their senses are being developed, and there's daubers, and they get to cut the herbs, create their own mixture, right? Which is science. Yes. Some gross motor, guys, outside. Let's look at this. Taking risks, okay? Climbing things. Loose parts, okay? Look at this. Can you see this? That's risky, yes? But think about the self-confidence, being able to build that high, what it does to a child's confidence and identity. Can I also tell you that that's my grandson? He's 4 there, now he's 8. Yeah. Okay. So do you see this right here? They wanted to see over the bush, and they figured out how. And I love this problem solving. If you can see down here, do you see those things lined up there? Those are like those round discs that you can balance on when you're like working out, and they're often used for occupational therapy. They thought that that was how, in their brain, that was how they were going to keep it from rolling backwards. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Smart.
I mean, that's pretty,
Smart.
it's pretty advanced thinking, right? That happens through play. I love this one too. It's one of my favorite pictures. Look at these girls. Look at her. Hell yeah. Right? How fun is that? Right? The risk of that. What's the worst that can happen?
They're gonna
What's
fall
the
down and
worst?
get up again.
Amen. And laugh. Right? And maybe try it a different way so that they don't fall next time.
That's true.
Right? Divergent thinking. Creative. Lots of opportunities to be creative. Outside of the box ways to be creative, right? So we may provide the materials, but how they use it is up to them. Okay, and like I, oopsie, sorry. And like I said, outside of the box ways, you know, we use a lot of dollar store stuff. The top or bottom right are plungers. Those circles are from plungers. Above that are kitchen mashers and plungers.
Sponges.
Plungers, toilet plungers, yeah. Over here on the top left, they're fly swatters and a big sheet and spray bottles, trays of paint. Ooh, that's messy. So fun. You know, you can see the blue on the back of their hair. This is
Wow.
this is an activity that we provide there. Those are pantyhose. Y'all remember pantyhose? Y'all may be too young for pantyhose. Nylons, they used to, nobody wears those anymore. But you cut them off and then you fill them like with a bag of sand, and then you tie them. And then when you dip them in paint and then drop them, you can see in the top right, and you drop them, it splats. Right? So it's a really great cause and effect, right? And there's some risk involved for them because they're taking, they're standing on a table, right? So again, this is everything you've seen, but this is a process over product. This is not about what it's going to look like at the end. This is about children thinking, what will happen if? What will happen if I put it higher, put it lower, mix the paint, put a little bit of paint, put a lot of paint, right? As well as what it does to their confidence when they get to take a risk and then be successful. Some science, animals, lots of animals, plants. If you look at this top right here, do you see this? Can you see his face? Okay, he decided that do you see the pattern that he's making? Where's my thing? You see the pattern that he's making? Here, right? That's organic, that's all him. It's all him. The fine motor skills, as well as the science. You look down here at the right, here's some more molcajete with some basil or some herbs and stuff. This one right here is baking soda and vinegar. So when the vinegar touches the baking soda, it oxidizes, it bubbles, exactly. Over here on the left, I get all sorts of things from thrift stores and let kids take it apart using real tools. real screwdrivers, real pliers. Yeah, real, wrenches. Okay. That's an alarm clock there, and that's a VCR. Y'all remember VCRs? Yeah. Yeah. And then this bottom right, I love this. These boys right now, they just turned 10. They're still in my program. But they lifted up a log, pushed over a log after it had rained. So guess what was underneath? So many creepy crawlies, right? And I actually have video of them talking about that. But this is an example of being there and being available. And then this little boy here, Zayden, saying, Miss Jamie, I need a magnifying glass, right? And I'm like, okay, let's go get a magnifying glass, right? To facilitate that play, right? To allow it to last longer. Dramatic play. It has been said that the 4-year-old lives dramatic play. Like every day of a 4-year-old is dramatic play, as it should be. They're so imaginative, right? They can do so much with their imagination if we let them, right? This picture right here with the chairs, we had gone on a field trip that week. So they recreated the bus trip, right? Boys taking care of a baby. They created a coffee shop here, tea party down here. Okay. Again, I might put out the materials, right? And I think like this dramatic play here, I put out the materials, like I'll put out a few tables that look like tables that you would eat at, and then another table with some cooking stuff, and then another table with a cash register. So I create an opportunity, right? But my extent of facilitating it might be, oh, who wants to be the cashier?
Give the
That would
choice.
be it. Yeah, just to throw that out there, right? Just to give them some vocabulary, give them an idea, but that's it, right? If they invite me, I might sit and eat with them, but I am not using it as, I'm not like quizzing them or teaching them. I trust the play. Right? Like they're doing number recognition, right? Because there's numbers on the money. There's, letters and numbers on the menus. All of that is happening organically. I trust the play, right? I'm there to facilitate, deepen it when I can, and just enjoy them, right? Just enjoy them. Seeing children in deep play, there's nothing like it. It's why I still do what I do after 30 years.
It sounds
Yes,
fun.
Lee.
It looks fun.
It is the best. Yeah. Block play, allowing them, again, oftentimes in block plays, it has to stay at the block center. It can't be too high. It's dangerous. There's not a lot of materials. One of the best materials that we have found, y'all, solo cups. I swear to God, Smart and Final thinks that I'm a partier because I buy solo cups every week because they do so much with them, right? And then just lastly, just pictures that I've taken over the years of just honoring childhood, those schedules where every 20 minutes it's something else does not allow children an opportunity to just be in childhood. And it's lost time, these moments of just beauty, don't happen if the children don't have true play. This picture up here, can you see this?
Oh.
Yeah, this is a 3-year-old who we still have that slide. It's a loose piece. See it down here being used this way? You know, they move it around. They use it lots of different ways. She created that and moved the rocking chair over and then sat down. And then she was pushing the rocking chair, looking up in the sky.
Wow.
And I could have been like, hey, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? That would have been so disrespectful, in my opinion, of her moment.
She
Like
enjoyed it.
whatever, yes, whatever it is she was working through, going through, thinking about, chilling,
Feeling relaxing.
it's
and
enough. It's enough. We are created to search out what we need when we need it. Children are created that way. Our job is to provide the environment. Be intentional about the environment, provide rich environments, and then be there to facilitate all the science, all the theorists, support that for optimum learning and development in all those 3 areas. And that is it. Thank you for hanging on, guys.